works. However, it's not always 100%, so wouldn't be a bad idea to take some notes. However, hopefully that won't be the case. Anyway, let's go over the project first, right? So let's take a look at preview. Obviously, this is our exercise 3. It's the final exercise of our project 2. And I'll just go ahead and read it out. The diagram is a useful tool for the spatial designer. It's the ability to communicate complex ideas in a clever yet revealing way. Now that the diagrams are complete, each student will make their own spatial composition based on their diagrams overlaid digitally in Photoshop. The composition will have 2 parts. The first will be static and be a 12 by 12 image. The second, I will instruct how to turn the images back into a GIF or moving picture. The composite will be the very expression of the motion within space, the narrative transcribed into a simplified composite. The final requirements will include what you already have, right? The 16 photo shot sequence, right? If you haven't finished that, finish it, right? And of course, what you guys just pinned up, the 6x6 overlay and photo. Now, the last part that we need is actually the body in motion, right? So of course, that's what we'll do today. And to be completely honest, we won't pin up the GIFs, right? But I do want to test your ability, whether you get it or not, right? And hopefully with today's tutorial, it'll be absolutely simplified, and you'll be doing this even in your own spare time or when you actually need this. Who knows? In fact, in my master's program, we had this class where everybody got a projector and you had to animate your drawings, right? So it was kind of cool. Everybody had a projector in the room, and quite literally you put a regular drawing and you had other things moving on it. So don't get me wrong, I wouldn't be surprised in the next 15 years they're slapping projector on, you know, the architectural supplies and you're projecting your drawings, right? Wouldn't be surprised at all, to be honest. Anyway, so here is, and of course due on Monday, October 30th. So I have one of the ones that I mentioned last time, right? The step-by-step motion, similar to what you guys just pinned up. So I do want to go over that you do have to scan yours in. What I don't recommend is using your phone to scan these in. I would definitely use the flatbeds downstairs, right? Because we do want them to align up perfectly. And of course there's ways to kind of fix that in Photoshop, but I'd rather you spend 30 minutes in Photoshop than in 3 hours, right? So let's talk about it. Let's go ahead and make our new file. I'm going to go ahead and press new. It's asking for a 12 by 12, so I'm going to go ahead and make a 12 by 12. Sweet, inches, we're good to go. Create, and of course it should be square. Now in your case, your scan won't look like this unless you put them all together. But we'll need to take them step by step. Now what I would recommend is you have to use at least 4 shots, right? That's a given. However, I would encourage you to try and use all of them, right? Definitely. So in my case, this is my base image, so I'm going to take my selection tool and I'm going to go ahead and hold shift, and it's going to be a perfect square. And look at that. We can check the student's work. She was making perfect squares. So we'll select that. I'll do Command C or Control C if you're in Windows. So Command C. You're not going to see anything, of course, until I Command V or Control V as in Verret and paste it. Maybe I didn't copy it. Let's make sure it's copied. Oh, do have to click on the layer before I copy something, so Command C and Command V. It's pretty tiny, right? So let's go ahead and make it a little bit bigger. I'm going to do Control T if you're on Windows, obviously. The other way around. And we're going to go ahead and hold shift so that it stays a square. And it's going to get pretty pixelated, but that's just because it's my tutorial. In your case, it should be a beautifully scanned image, so you should have no issues with pixelation like I do. Anyway, there's our first one. Not bad. Let's go ahead and take another. Let's just go in order today. Not a big deal. I believe I can take my very selection. I can hover it over the next one. Command C, Command V. Now, one thing I could do is, instead of doing this each individually, frame by frame, I could do it all at once. Right, instead of messing with the scale each and every time. But I might want to do it one at a time because, well, in the next part, I need to align those up. Now, the way that Photoshop works is, of course, layer 2 is on top, therefore it is on top. So if I put it a layer down, it's going to change layers, right? Almost starts looking like it's animated, right? To say the least. So I want to make a composite drawing, so in my case, let's try it at 50%. Or 47. However, I don't necessarily want to lose the line weight, right? And as you can see, it sort of looks like it's a bit faded, right? Now, don't get me wrong, I may want to use that, and I would say I'm open to creativity. There's, like I said, not a right or wrong answer to this. Really, our goal here is to express emotion all at one frame, right? So similar to, you guys remember that motion presentation I gave, where we saw some of those images that were almost like every frame involved? I'll let that be up to you. But what I would suggest is to, of course, line up your tape shape, right? And do accordingly. However, that's one way we can, okay, basically mess with the opacity. Or let's go ahead and right click on layer 2, blending options. I'm going to select multiply. And it's actually going to get rid of the white for us, right? Or what I should say is the background. So I can actually leave this at 100%, right? Without necessarily having to get the background. You guys see that? It's kind of hard to see. It does get a little darker, so let's apply it also to this one. Multiply. Remove the background. See how we remove that background? Anyway, play with it, right? Let's go ahead and put that layer back on top. Do the same thing to this guy. Take that down a little bit more. Ooh, there we go. Now don't get me wrong, this one's very pixelated because, well, the image started off pretty small. It, you know, as you guys know, it's just a screenshot from years back. But yeah, that's starting to be something. Well, I can still mess with the transparency. Ah, alright. Could I select on this layer and use my arrows to move it? Not quite. If I do Command T, I can. And I can further align or disalign. If I hold Shift, it'll really move it. Of course, I can align those up perfectly. Let's get another one in there. Like I said, I need at least 4, but you know, for today's tutorial, I'll just go in order. So I'm just moving my selection box. Command C, moving it. Command V. However, it is pretty small. That little nothing in there. Let's get another one so I can show you how to do 2 at a time. So let's get another one. Sweet. Copy. And paste. So they're actually on each other and they're really, really small. So I'm going to go ahead and select both of my layers and then do Command T or Control T if you're on Windows. I'm going to hold Shift so that it stays proportional. I do want it to be a square. But now I can do 2 at a time. Technically I could do all of them at a time. And we need, however, we can't do this at the same time. We do have to do blending options per layer because that's just the way that it works. Sweet. We can't see it because, of course, layer floor is above us, so not going to see it if it's not blended out. Multiply, and let's take that out. Sweet. Now we're starting to get somewhere. Looks like we still need some blending options because it came out really weird. Take it a bit further. Sweet. But we should be able to remove their trace. We should be able to remove the color, right? Things like that. However, let's put this together as if it was one motion, right? And go over some things that are at least acceptable for the drawing. So first thing, I can try this method and just line up my tape circle and see what that motion does. For some of you guys, this might be a great option, right? Especially like, I'm thinking of Magdala's where it has a lot of stuff happening with relation to that triangle, right? Some of you guys, maybe not so much, right? So maybe in her case, she kind of does something where, each layer gets thinner and thinner. All right, yeah, pretty interesting. I could print that out, and it expresses really kind of the motion as a whole, at least in 4 frames. Now, what I would recommend to the student is actually get some more in there. Now, in this student's particular case, it really all happens in one spot, so it might get really confusing. Let's try it a different way. So let's take my first layer. I'm going to move back to my steps. What if that's my new number 1? Or we'll say that's number 4. I'm going to go ahead and move number 3. Pretty close to that one. So on and so forth. That might be kind of interesting. Now in her case, the background seems to be what's actually getting in the way. But hopefully you guys can see that in the projector okay. I know it comes out a little strange. You can't really see the nice qualities that are right there. However, on the screen recording, you'll be able to see it. Let's brighten this up so you can kind of see it on the projector. There we go. Just so you can get a better idea. Does that express motion? Is it a little wonky? Yeah, well, I should have chose the right layers. I should have made it go in a little bit of an order. But both of those options are absolutely fine. We can either line up our tape all together as one circle, or feel free to manipulate it. Now, the only thing that you can't do is change this 12 by 12, right? We do want it to print at a 12 by 12. That in mind, will 11 by 17 let you make a 12 by 12? No. So you'll have to print on at least a 12 by 18, right? Now, that's going to be one of these guys, right? That can be done. In fact, you could do 3 students per linear foot. In fact, I'd recommend it because that would technically save you some money, right? You can split the cost 3 ways. If it's $1.08, it's only about, what, 36 cents? Not too bad. You can also go to Office Depot. You can also go to ARC. You can also go to Lone Star Graphics, right? So, of course, obtain some prints. So I definitely don't want to hear on Monday, especially from Jesus, sir, I still can't print it, right? Because it's not a valid excuse, and it's eventually what will get you fired one day, right? So I didn't print is not a valid excuse. So this is pretty good, at least for the assignment. Fits the description, it shows motion, and I can explain it, right? There's frame 1, frame 2, frame 3, and frame 4. Like I said, the more the merrier, but in some cases it might get very cluttered, right? So at least 4, but definitely encourage all of the frames to be involved. That being said, this is in a good spot to talk about turning it back into a GIF, right? However, what part would I like to be a GIF? Honestly, once you learn this, making 2 GIFs should be fairly simple. I used to do it in Photoshop, but it's gotten a lot easier thanks to a website called literally EasyGIF, right? So if we go to easygif.com, right? This is like my best friend. You can do anything with GIFs, and pretty much my entire family, we just send GIFs every holiday to each other, and it's awesome because at least mine are custom made. But in our case, what we want to do to put them together is go layer by layer. So in my case, I want layer 1, then layer 2, 3, and 4. Yes, I said the wrong numbers, but that's okay. So we're going to go to File, Save As. I'm going to turn it into a JPEG. I'm going to make a new folder. That way, I don't get lost. I'm going to call it GIF. That should work. and we'll call it layer 1. Obviously, we're going to need this motion to stay in order, so let's, of course, practice good organization. Save. I'm going to turn that one off. I'm going to turn the next one on. And that's okay, it's in a different motion. However, you'll kind of see what happens to this GIF. So let's go ahead and do that. File, save as, and again, frame 2. However, we don't want a PSD, definitely want a GIF, or sorry, JPEG. For extra credit, does anybody know what a GIF stands for? I'll take that as a maybe. JPEG. And there is abilities to, of course, make a JPEG, or sorry, a GIF in Photoshop, but I do find it a little bit more difficult. And it definitely varies actually from Photoshop to Photoshop version, so easy GIF is definitely the way to go. However, it looks like we're just about got all of our frames. Save as. Today, Junior. JPEG and 4. But realistically, I need 2 sets of images. The first one, your actual photos, and then your motion of composition. Right. So that's pretty good. And honestly, this is probably, again, just the easiest thing next. Right? We'll simply go to our Easy GIF Animated GIF Maker. We'll choose our files. And we'll put them on there. Take our GIF, 1 through 4, and upload. Let's go ahead and close some of the things we don't need. And then I even want to show you how to put it on Miro as well. Sweet. So what I like about the Animated GIF Maker is you can control a lot of things really easily. So, you know, for that first one, we can tell it to hold for 50 microseconds. On the next one, I want it to be 12. Maybe I want them to go really fast, right? So 12, 12, 12. And, you know, I could tell it to loop a certain amount. If I put 0, it's just going to loop forever. Kind of want that loop forever. Everything else looks pretty good. I'm going to type in make GIF. And it's going to put it together. As you can see, this would be way cooler if I did every single one, right? But it is kind of interesting, right? However, you know, I've always wanted to buy some really old iPads, and I did, right? I found a bunch of iPad 1s on eBay, and I got 30 of them for $30, right? They won't play a damn GIF for some reason, you know, so I'm still waiting for iPad 2 to get a little bit cheaper, because eventually what I would love to do is actually put them in the hallway. I'd love to upload your work and have animated work next to your drawings, right? So anyway, you guys are in the process, and I would love, you know, you guys to create some awesome animations that I could actually display for my next class when I actually get those things. Anyway, if you're looking for old objects, eBay, definitely the way to go. So we got our GIF. Let's go ahead and save it. I can do a couple of things to it though. I can turn it into a meme quite easily just by writing on it. I can overlay another image if I wanted to. I could split it into 2. However, for today, we just need to save it. So we'll hit save, and I'll put it in my GIFs and call it take 1. I accidentally saved it to my desktop. Oh well, that's okay. So obviously, I would like to see a GIF animation for both your motion photos and your composition. So keep that in mind. When we go to Miro, so the best way to find it is, well, I put it online, and it's under announcements, right? So if you click on this link, if you don't have an account, it is free as long as you sign up with your EDU email, right? So make sure that you use your EDU email to look at it. You click on the link. You're welcome to download Miro to your desktop, or you can use it on a browser as well, right? If you sign in, it's going to bring you to our Design One Fall 2023. So I don't know what you guys did during 2020, but this is definitely where we were in 2020 because it's a nice pinup space, and there I am as an old man, right? Professor Barrett. But what's nice about it is we have a pinup space even though it's only digital. Now the reason I like to use this is, well, it saves on some cost. Instead of printing out tons and tons of information and pinning it up all the time, we can simply just post it here, right? So a couple of things, we can either just drag that GIF right in here, or we can go to this plus sign, or sorry, this up arrow into a box sign, and upload. And of course, my computer wants to go pretty slow. So we'll hit upload. We'll choose from my device. Obviously a lot of options there. I'll go ahead and close Photoshop because it does seem to be slowing down my computer. Let's go ahead and open up that Take One GIF. Sweet. Open. And voila, we've got a GIF. And it's animated. So obviously I would love you to put your name, please put your name. You can also just make a copy. Name. And please get familiar with Miro. Now obviously this is not a 12 by 12 drawing, and there is technically no scale in Miro. However, there is a new feature that if you right click, and I think you can actually set it to the scale, which in our case is a 12 by 12. However, I'm not really worried about scale yet. I should say. There used to be an option. Oh, guess I got rid of it. I don't know, do you guys see view to scale? I don't see it. Anyway, not important. Get it as close as possible. Right? If that's a 6-foot man, we'll go ahead and say that's a 12 by 12. Obviously I don't need those, that. And we'll call that Professor Barrett's for today. Of course, for some reason it has to load every time that you move. I think if you click on it as well, it inactivates it as well. So again, composition and your motion. Your motion actually should be pretty cool, right? You're gonna see sort of a snap by shot of exactly your motion, right? You're more than welcome to slow it down for us, sort of frame by frame. But let's not make 16 shots take somehow 15 minutes to look at also, right? So don't use too big of numbers when you're making that GIF on animated GIF, right? These are microseconds. So as you can see, you know, if you wanted a different result, you could test it real quick. So like, let's try 30, 30, 30, and 30. And make GIF. It's going to make a new one for us. And again, it's just sort of going to continue. But see how it doesn't really have a stopping point? You kind of don't know when it starts or ends. That's why I was putting a little bit more of a number on that first one. That way it kind of pauses, then goes, right? So anyway, do think about it. Let's see, am I forgetting anything? We got our Miro board. Sign up for Miro. It does work on the browser. You can also download it. I really recommend just downloading it because we will be using it for that third project, right? So do keep that in mind. Yes. What is that? Yes. Hopefully it's recording right now. We're about to find out. Any questions about the process, guys? What to do? Fairly simple for 4 days of work.
So what do we print it out exactly?
You'll need the snapshot of this, right? Remember that first image that we worked on in Photoshop? Where it was just a still image, there was a little bit of transparency.
Oh, at the beginning?
Correct.
It's just all, it doesn't like...
Static.
Static, okay.
Right? So in the assignment it's referred to as the static image.
Okay.
Now the two GIFs, obviously you can't print out a GIF, right? However, that would be really cool, but we can't. So for the sake of those will just stay on Miro. We'll assume they're there on Monday. We'll take a look at all of them. I'll put them on the projector and we can play them, right? And Escamilla, it's actually his like favorite part. He loves seeing, because he knows the whole project. I've done it many times. But it really is something when you see all these motions sort of happening simultaneously. So those two, of course, just on Miro. Right?
So which two, I thought you removed it.
Two GIFs, one of the diagram and one of the photos.
Oh, the photos we took?
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah, so you should actually already have those ready to go. You could stick those right into the GIF maker and be like, done on that GIF. Right? You could even do that first. If you have individual scans of your diagrams, that could be easy too. Just throw it into the GIF, right? However, the first thing that I think everybody needs to do today, scan their diagrams, right? I would take advantage of downstairs, those two flatbed scanners, or if you do it really, really, really well, right, you can pin it with some good light, and you can get a scan on the phone. I just don't recommend it if you're trying to line them up. You're gonna notice it kind of gets off, right? But I'll accept either or, right? As long as you're learning something, that's fine by me, right? Good questions. Any others? Fair enough.